Do you have some thrifted items or even some home decor around your house that's either outdated or just needs a little makeover? Well, stay tuned because I have 3 thrift flips or home decor flips that I'm going to show you that are super easy to do and they turn out beautiful. Project 1 is a little jewelry box that I found at the thrift store, and I just cleaned up the inside. There was one little spot that I couldn't get cleaned up, but for the most part it cleaned up well, but it's just outdated. I got this for $1. So the first thing I'm going to do is sand off the little flowers that were painted. I didn't know if it was going to be paint that was on there or some kind of decal, but it turns out it was paint. So it sanded off pretty easily. And then I wanted to give the rest of the jewelry box a good scuff sand just to get off any kind of grime or grit that might be on it that would kind of mess up the paint job. So after I cleaned everything up, sanded everything down, cleaned everything up, I am going to paint this with a pink. And I'm using this Waverly Ballet Slipper as the color, but it's a little too pink. I wanted it to be a lot lighter. So I'm going to mix it with the Waverly in Snow White. And hopefully that's going to be a good light pink color. And I'm using a small brush to paint this because I didn't want to paint the hinges, and I also did not want to paint the inside of the rim or the inside of the lid. Now I did get a little bit on the inside, but that's okay because I will be able to sand that down. I had to give it 2 coats, but on the top I gave it a 3rd coat just to make sure that it was, had really good coverage and you couldn't see any of that light color come out. But I'm going to sand it. I'm going to sand the outside just to make sure that it has a little bit of a distressed look, but I'm going to sand the inside around the edges where that paint got on, and it came off really easily. But I just wanted I wanted it to look not perfect as far as paint goes. Now I got this rub-on transfer kit from Amazon, and I'll put a link to it in the description box. I just love the patterns that they have here. I love the fact that you have the script with the little picture on top, and I'm going to use this rose because I'm just going to put it on one corner of the top of the jewelry box, and this one fits perfectly, and the pink comes through kind of on that rose a little bit, so it gives it kind of a little pinkish hue. But with the transfers, it's so easy. All you do is you take the clear sheet with the pattern on it, and you lay it on top of your project, and you use the little stick, and you rub the transfer onto the project. And especially with script, you want to make sure you take your time just to make sure you get all of that script on there. But once I got it all on there, there were a couple little words at the top of the sheet that didn't get on the project. It was a little too tall, so I just kind of fit them onto the sides of what I had laid down. Next, I'm going to put some Waverly clear wax on the project. I'm going to coat it really good and wipe off all of the excess, and I'm putting the clear wax on it because I want to make sure that when I put the antique wax, it doesn't change the color of the pink too much with too much age. But once I have the clear wax wiped off, then I'm going to go over it with a small brush and put the antique wax by Waverly just around the edges of the top and the bottom. And then once I use my shop towel to wipe it down, it will kind of get some of that antique wax on the top just so that it kind of blends in real good. But this is such an easy way to make a project look especially, worn and, kind of aged, this antique wax. So I had a little bit left on my brush, so I used it on the sides just to, and I'm sorry you can't really see it right here. It was out of the viewer. But anyway, I just used whatever's left on the brush to kind of put on the front and get all of that antique wax on there and just wiped off the excess. Next, I'm going to take this little lace ribbon that I got from Dollar Tree. I have it in my stash, and I'm just going to make a little bow to go in the opposite corner of the transfer. And I also have that I thrifted from a storage unit. And I'm going to use one of those little doilies on the back of the ribbon just to kind of add some depth to that bow. And I'm going to tie it off with some string. And once I get it tied, I'm going to hot glue it to the top corner of the jewelry box. And then I'm going to finish it off with a cute little button. And I just really think that this turned out so cute. If I had a little girl, I would definitely keep it for her, but I don't have one. So I'm going to put this in my booth, put it up for sale. And I really don't think this one's gonna last very long because this is so cute. And again, I only paid $1 for this jewelry box, and I think it is definitely worth more than that now. You'll have to let me know in the comments what you think. For project 2, I have these 3 books that I actually used when I used to stage houses for realtors, and I had just painted the front of the spines. I got these books from Dollar Tree, and I had just painted the spines just to use as kind of like risers. But I'm going to make a stacked book set, and I'm going to use this color by Country Chic. And the name of the paint is Secret Garden, and I think this is such a pretty green. I'm also, for one of the books, I'm going to use that Secret Garden. Another book, I'm going to use Moss. This is a really popular color for me. And then for that third book, I don't have really a different color green, so I'm going to mix this Waverly Ivory with some of the Moss in Waverly just to kind of come up with another color of green. But basically all you do is you just paint the sides and the spine with each color of paint, and I'm using my little heat gun to get it to dry faster. But since I'm going to paint, or since I'm going to stack them, I'm not going to paint the entire second side of each book, and I also have to paint the inner rim just because you can kind of see it when they're stacked. But this is going to be the bottom book, so I only painted one side fully, and I just still have to paint the other rim. But the second color is the Moss, and on this one, this is going to be the middle book, so I don't have to paint each side fully. I'm just kind of painting around the edges and the spine, and then of course I'm going to paint the inside of it. And then for the third color, this is the color that I came up with, that I mixed the Moss and the Ivory together. This is going to be the top book, so I definitely have to get one side painted fully, and then the other book is just painted around the edges and around the inside rim. Once all of that is dry, then I'm going to stack them together using hot glue. I am going to tie them off in the end, but just for, purposes of getting them situated while I finish working on it, I wanted to make sure I get it hot glued together, and it just adds to the stability of the stack. So I get those all put together and let that hot glue dry. Once that's done, I'm going to paint some words or stamp some words onto the sides of the books. This is the clear stamp set that I got from Dollar Tree, and I don't have an ink pad, so I'm just using Waverly's black chalk paint in the color ink, and I am going to stamp each letter individually onto the books. And the words that I'm going to use says enjoy the journey. And you could lay your letters out and put some like Packers tape or whatever on the top of it and then kind of lay it all down at one time. But it was just easier for me because I know if you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know that my hands shake. I get people commenting with kind of not so nice comments every now and then about my hands shaking, but it's just a condition I have. It's called tremors. And so sometimes I just have to accommodate that when I'm doing stuff like this. So for me, it's just easier to do it like this. But once I get that done, I'm going to use this new IOD, new to me, and it is called Lover of Flowers, and I'm going to use one of the rub-on transfers from it. I don't have a link to it because I actually bought it in a store. I'll see if I can find a link to it, but I'm going to use this really pretty rose on the top, and I'm actually going to let some of the leaves come over the edge just a little bit. And I started with transferring the leaves first over the edge. I probably should have left that till last. It might have been easier, but it was still very easy. Even with doing it on books, you just use the little stick to rub the transfer onto your project piece, and it is just so super easy to do. And you can see how easy it just comes up once you rub it really good. The bigger, in the last project, it was a lot of text, but the bigger the picture is or the bigger the image is, the easier it is to transfer. So this really took no time at all to get all the way off. And then once you finish transferring, you just use that little piece of vellum to burnish it onto the project just to make it more secure. And then the name of the flower was with it, so I decided to put that up the top of the book. And again, with the script, I made sure I rubbed it really good before I took it off. Now, once everything is on there, I've got it all on. So now I'm going to cover it with some clear wax and wipe off the excess, because you guessed it, I'm going to then go over it with my little sponge with some antique wax. I'm going to give this a good coat of the antique wax around the edges, make this look very vintagey. I just love the way that this looks on these books with that flower. I just think it's so pretty. And then once I have finished doing that, I'm going to wrap the 3 books together with some twine, and I'm just going to wrap the string around 2 or 3 times and then tie it in a knot. And then I'm going to take some more twine and just kind of wrap it around my fingers loosely and make sort of a bow. And after I have, wrapped it around, taken it off my fingers, then I'm going to tie it all together with the rest of the string that was used to wrap around the books. And that's going to sort of make my little bow. And this is just another one of those projects that you can find stuff around your house. If you have books that you were thinking about giving away or throwing away, why don't you just do something like this, make them over, and make it match the decor of your house. I think these turned out so pretty, and I'm going to put them in my booth, and I know they are going to sell pretty quickly. At least I hope they do. Now, project 3 is something I know everybody has old frames that they have around their house. This is one that I got from a garage sale for $2. It was either $1 or $2. I'm going to use old trusty Waverly Moss paint, and I'm going to use a smaller brush because this frame is extremely detailed. So I'm going to use a small brush so that I can get around the back edge as well as in all those little crevices that are in the frame. If you're new to my channel and you like this sort of content, then I have a lot of thrift flip videos that I will put in the description box. And also you can check it out on my YouTube channel. I've done lots of different flips as well as some thrift hauls that you can check out. I would love it if you would click subscribe and be a part of my YouTube family. I do thrift hauls, thrift flips. I also have some cooking videos that you might be interested in as well. All right, I have it all painted, and excuse the color of the darkness. I feel like it was cloudy that day. But anyway, I'm using the Waverly Antique Wax, and I'm using a small paintbrush. I don't want a ton of wax. I'm just going to get in these little crevices of the leaves, and I'm going to wipe back. So I am taking my time. I'm being very kind of intentional on where I'm putting the wax, and I'm not letting it set long. I'm wiping it back, you know, in small segments so that I don't get too much, because I don't want it to be too incredibly dark. And I actually happened on a little happy accident. I started using a baby wipe because I have seen some people use baby wipes before to wipe back, and the baby wipe I noticed started showing some of the white, and at first I was like, oh man, but then I looked at it and I went, okay, I really like some of that white coming through because it really made it more dimensional. So that was a happy little accident. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to paint the inside part of the frame, and I have a few of these little transfers left from a hydrangea pack, and I'm going to use these two little pieces here because since it's a small little area, I'm just going to use these two little pieces. But I will put the hydrangea pack link in the description box. I'm going to use the Waverly chalk paint, and I'm just going to paint the, backing of the frame. I'm not going to put, so I threw it away before I could video it, but there was no glass to this. It was a little piece of plastic, but it was so yellowed, it was almost brown. So I just threw it away. So there's not going to be any kind of glass or anything to this. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the white piece off of the little, I don't even know what those are, little buds, and get that transferred on. And this is a little more detailed, so I had to be really careful and make sure before I pulled it off that I, got it transferred down good. And then I'm just going to put down this little hydrangea petal and get that transferred on. That came off really easily. After I get the plastic piece off, then I just rub over it with the plastic, and then I'm going to go over it with some clear wax to seal it in. And it doesn't take very much. You just cover it with the clear wax, wipe off the excess. And then, of course, what would a project be if I didn't use a little antique wax? So once I had all of the clear wax wiped off, I just took that small little brush, dabbed a little bit of the antique wax around the edges, and once I get it all, put around the edges, then I just start wiping it back. And where I see I have a little too much of the antique wax. I just use some clear wax and kind of wipe it back a little bit, kind of erases it a little. But once I get all of that kind of to the way I like it, I kind of, close the frame, see what it looks like. And once I get it to where, I'm happy with the way the antiquing looks through the frame, then this project is done. So this is just a perfect example of taking something that just looks old and worn or outdated and making it into something beautiful. Because honestly, this frame kind of reminded me of teeth when I first started it, and now I absolutely love the way it turned out. You'll have to let me know in the comments which was your favorite project. And again, if you're new, or if you just want to see some more thrift videos or thrift flip videos, make sure that you click subscribe and don't forget to click the bell button so you don't miss any of my videos. Give this video a big thumbs up and check out the box you see on the screen right now, and I'll see you next time. Bye.